Hello, everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode of Craft Your Life. We are so excited today because we have the amazing Pam Bodecker with us, who is actually Altenew's Educator of the Year this year, which is so exciting. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time to join us and celebrate. Congratulations on your accomplishment.
I still just love hearing it.
You have a whole year to hear it. It's like
I do.
It's like Miss America. You get to hear it all year. It's wonderful.
Fabulous.
And then you get to hear it really for the rest of your life, because once you've achieved it, it's always there. It's always an accomplishment that you have in your kind of your crafty little pocket there.
I've always got my little award there to look at.
Yes. So tell us, if folks don't know anything about you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I live in Tucson, Arizona with my husband and my dog Mulligan. I have 2 grown children. My daughter lives in Los Angeles with my 2 grandchildren and my son-in-law. And if you ask me about my grandchildren, be prepared. It's going to be a long discussion. My son lives in Phoenix with my granddog, who is a beautiful husky named Martina. All of their huskies have been named after tennis stars. So we actually will see Martina later this week, and she expects to have a treat in my purse. So we've lived in Arizona almost 20 years, and it's a retired life that I look forward to. This room was my dream. I wish this wasn't the view you were seeing. But at any rate, I love to craft and enjoy that very much in my retired life.
I think you're going to have actually a lot of folks that are watching this, not just listening. If you're listening at home, this would be your dream craft room. You would want to go here. Like, there's so much stuff. There's so much. I've been there personally. There's so much great stuff. Like, every corner, there's something fun and exciting. So I think everybody at home is going to be like, oh my gosh, I want to go to Pam's. So you're in the right place to have a full craft room.
You know, I don't believe in putting things behind doors. I like to have it out where I can see it.
Yep.
And I'm actually motivated by seeing all the colors. And this room would have been our living room. And it's getting so much more use than it would have as a living room. So I think it was a good decision.
I personally, being there, I say so too. So now, what can you tell us about your journey becoming an Altenew certified educator?
I was looking for a new challenge, and I was looking for some way to meet up with other people who were addicted at the same level that I am. It's difficult to find. And I also wanted to improve my crafting skills. So along came COVID, and that was a lifesaver for me to wake up every day. I like to go to bed at night knowing what I'm going to do when I wake up in the morning and have something to look forward to. And AECP did that for me. Every night when I went to bed, I knew which lesson I was going to start or which project I was going to work on. And my mind was already working. And I do frequently come up with ideas in my dreams at night. So I would actually be off and rolling when I woke up in the morning and ready to face whatever lesson was ahead of me. I really looked forward to it. And along the way, I took a lot of classes and met so many people who were like me and understood my crafty language and could talk about it as long as I could, and and understood my level of why I was always thinking about crafting.
It's finding your people that get it, right? Like that
It
you
really
don't,
is.
like for example, actually when I was coming to see you, I explained to a guy that I worked with stamps, and he thought I meant postage stamps. So it's lovely to be able to say to somebody, "Oh, I got this cool stamp set," and they're like, "Oh, what's it of?" And it's not, they know it's not a postage stamp. So it is good to find your people that understand your passion, your love for certain colors or items that come from a company. And it's great. People will text you, "Do you see this stamp set? It's you." So I think that's great to find your group of folks.
Absolutely, absolutely. And along the way too, every lesson, every project I did was, I learned something.
Yeah.
And it also made me look at what I had in a different way. I've had this stamp set, I've used it, but my gosh, I've never thought of using it that way. So it helped me stretch my supplies as well. It also helped me buy more supplies.
Do we really need help with that? I don't know. I don't know. Need assistance with that. Now, do you remember your first Altenew stamp?
I do. I believe it was vintage rose, and I had never, the layered stamp at that time was non
Yeah.
existent. It was the first layered stamp I'd ever seen. And I love to craft, but I cannot draw. And I didn't have the skill to highlight or to give depth to what I was trying to stamp. So that layered stamp idea just drew me right in. That vintage rose was my answer to finally getting something that looked more real.
And how did you find Altenew? Was it like a YouTube video, or was it a blog, or do you remember how you found Altenew?
Probably something on the internet, but I really don't remember what it was. I just remember writing down Altenew and that vintage rose and ordering it immediately. Of course, then that led to needing to have the layered colors of Altenew stamps, and then the slippery slope just got steeper and steeper.
I remember that. I was antique roses, but then I was like, well, I don't have the inks, and you really need the inks to make the four color. You really need those, right? And then I was like, well,
Right.
you could buy them one at, or you could just buy. They had like this big bundle of all of them, and I'm like, let's jump in with both feet. Let's go. And
Well, like you, I have the full set syndrome.
yeah,
So, that has not
because
changed.
you always know it's that one color you don't have that you're going
It
to need.
is.
You're going to want.
It
Like you'll be like,
absolutely,
this will be perfect. I just need. Oh, I don't have that color. So yeah, I think that explains the full set syndrome problem.
it does.
So, as an educator of the year, what would you tell somebody that? And we know a lot of folks that are currently in the program that have just
Yes,
graduated, so to speak,
yes.
and some that are coming in. What would you tell somebody that was really nervous about applying to the program?
Well, I think people go in for different reasons. And I actually didn't go in with the ultimate goal of teaching. I went in for self improvement. And I think that that needs to be your focus, to start where you are and improve from there. So it doesn't matter where you are, it's the desire to learn. Um, I love to take classes and I love to go to college. I would still be in college today if my husband hadn't cut off my scholarship. I'd still be there. Um, but this kind of answered that too. I love to take classes, and so the program is there for people who want to improve themselves, and are, I would say, you need to be somewhat goal oriented, even though no matter what your goal is, if it's to be a better stamper or to make a more professional looking card or to learn how to watercolor or to add to your whatever. I think to start out with some goal is, and there are so many people there to help, and there are so many great classes, and you can take your time. You and I have talked about this, Bridget. It's such a great experience. Don't rush through it. Take your time and enjoy each lesson, and I did, and really explore what you're doing and just get the full depth out of it, as you're going through the program, because once it's over, it's over.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
We need like a graduate school like for educators
Yes,
or something
yes.
like cuz we want more. We want more.
I need a new master's
It was
degree. Yes.
it's just such a fun it's such a fun process, really. And what do you think? I mean, of course the classes are great. I mean, you have so much fun, and even you and I were old hats, so to speak, when we went through. But I learned so much, like you were saying. I learned so much as well. And even being, I mean, this is like I'm like hitting year 30 of crafting, but I still, there was something I picked up in every lesson, or there was something that
Absolutely.
really inspired me to do something different or try something different. So what outside of the actual learning, so outside of the classes, what do you think is the greatest thing of AECP?
It's being connected with Altenew. I mean, that's for me number one. It was kind of when I saw AECP was offered through Altenew, that was my number one company. I just really loved. I love the artwork. I love the quality of the products. I love the people who are involved. So that connection with that company in particular was important to me. And along the way, meeting the people who are connected with Altenew, um, Aram in particular, but also through the Facebook group and through the connection with the other people in the program and the classes you take along the way. I never imagined how close how well you could get to know someone virtually. And it's to me, it's absolutely remarkable. I have my best friend who happens to be Bridget, and I didn't know Bridget prior to AECP, and we were taking classes at the same time. And I kept hearing this person talking and thinking, who is she? Who is that? And eventually Bridget said, I think I'd like to start a Saturday group.
Yep.
And I said, okay, why not? And I jumped in, and what, almost 4 years later,
November, it'll be 4 years. Yeah. Yeah.
you could catch the Saturdays I've missed could probably be counted on one hand.
Yep.
Um, it just is remarkable. We've both traveled now cross country to meet each other. I just went to Maine for her son's wedding. I mean, can you imagine that when I started AECP, that this would be the result? And I think watching some of our friends on the Saturday group have now joined AECP, and I can watch as their work is just blossoming. And more than that, their confidence in what they're doing. Um, it's been remarkable. And it's all virtual. It's a miracle. It really is.
And I think that's, when we all we were all forced home, I
Yes.
think that's the one thing that we've kept from that has been good in so many lives, is that ability to connect virtually. Zoom or Google Meets were both like lifesavers for a lot of people. And I think they're still changing lives because there's still that connection. We've learned to connect virtually now. We understand how it works. We understand kind of the relationships, how you get a friendship over Zoom. And I think that's been one thing that, we've really learned through this whole situation. Which
Well, the
is
the
great.
other part, especially for a crafter, when you're taking a virtual class, all of your supplies are right there in your room. You're not loading them into your car. You're not driving somewhere to take classes and unloading them, and you don't have to worry about forgetting anything because it's all right here. And if you want to do it in your pajamas, you can. And so it just has so many other advantages, and it's something you can do around your own time frame for people around the world, which is yet another whole part of this. Is just, imagine getting to know Aram in Pakistan. I mean, it just is.
Enjoy in Hong
I
Kong.
never,
I mean,
never imagined.
it's wild. You can say you have friends all over the world, and
Yes,
it's fabulous. And
yes.
it really is this program that, that's why we have all these friends across the world, which is just absolutely amazing. So and I'm glad you mentioned that, because it really does. It's not just a program where you learn. Like, learning is wonderful. Like, I keep going to school too. I can't stop either. So I'm in the same boat as you. So I just want to learn. I want to learn more. But there's so much more to the program. And it's almost hard to explain to people how unique this program is. Like, you can give them the overview, but until you're in it, you kind of don't get the community and the vibe and everything that comes along with it.
I don't want to sound cheesy, you know what I mean? And yet, it was, for me, it was a time in my life where, my kids are gone. I've reached that goal. My career, my official career, is no longer. I've retired, and I needed another challenge and another way to feel like I was doing something that was important. And what's better than making someone smile with a beautiful card?
Yes.
So and then the teaching part of it kicks in. It's like, I have enjoyed this so much. I've always taught. I actually managed scrapbook stores at the end of my retired career, so I taught a lot of classes. But there's something about sharing that experience with people, and in a way being an enabler. We all enjoy enabling, but if you really truly love doing something, it's easy to convince other people that they need to do this too. So the teaching part of it yet is another huge plus.
Now, how do you design a class when you're thinking of a class to come up with to teach? How do you go about picking what to teach?
That's a lot of what those piles are back there, because we work several months ahead of time. And it's usually the product that starts what I'm thinking about for a class. It's always something I really want to do, because when I teach a class, I don't just work on one card. I really try to dig deep into whatever it is I'm going to teach. If it's a stencil, I want to figure out, before I teach that class, every way I could possibly use that stencil. And so when I teach it, it's like, yes, I've tried that, um, or you could try this if you don't want to do that. And so it's something that I myself really want to learn, or something that I really want to use. But it's frequently a new Altenew product that will, there's something about getting that package in the mail, and that frequently is what begins.
The
Yes.
smell of the stamps, and then the percolating begins, and it all goes from there.
Yes. Percolating is
And the great
right.
thing about teaching at home too, right, is like what you said. If you have a student that says, well, what if you did this on vellum? You can go grab the vellum and show them. I mean, as opposed
Absolutely.
to being like at a store when you're like, I don't have any vellum, I don't know. It would be beautiful,
It's
but
not unusual for the class to deviate off a different direction if there's interest in it. Someone asks a question, and other people say, "Yeah, I want to know about that too." It's easy at my house to go ahead and say, "Yeah, I can pull that out, and we can try it." Yeah.
and usually we have no time limits, so we can do anything.
Yes.
We've
Yes.
crafted all night before, so we can do it again.
We have done it. We have done it.
Now, what do you have for a memorable teaching experience through AECP?
Um, I think that the first time I got a card, an actual card from someone I had taught, showing me what they had done and that they were proud of it. I still have those cards, and that for me is those moments I remember. But it, it's the look in someone's eye when they get it, and a lot of times it's with heat embossing, I've got to say. It's the magic of watching that embossing powder suddenly turn shiny gold and someone seeing that for the first time, or watching a pink and a yellow watercolor go together and make a beautiful orange. It's those aha moments that you don't forget.
Now, do you have a favorite project you've taught so far?
Um, I don't. I don't. I love each one as I go along the way. I think, as you've said many times, it's like trying to say I have a favorite child.
Yeah.
Um, it's usually the one I'm working on at that moment. I had seen a video class by Jennifer McGuire a few months ago where she had layered stencils and used one stencil and then trapped that in with embossing powder and clear embossing powder. And it intrigued me. And so I thought, well, I'm going to try some form of that with Altenew products for one of my classes. I couldn't stop. And I mean, stencils are still kind of for this moment, my favorite product. Now, tomorrow it could be something else, but
So
so
for today, what is your favorite stencil? If you had to pick one to craft with at this moment, do you know which one you'd reach for?
that's oh yeah, because it's a layered hexagon, which and I'm not a geometric person in general, but I started using that, and then and I used it with bright colors for a background, and then I started using it with some embossing paste. And I mean, it's a wreck. I really need to order another one now because I've just about destroyed it. But yeah, it's my current favorite. But tomorrow, I'm afraid, I may very well have a different favorite.
Do you have a favorite technique you're laying with right now?
um, I don't have, I'm going for layers and I'm going for, I think texture is my latest thing, and trying whether it's with just ink or whether it's embossing powder or stenciling, but trying to bring in layers or texture in some way. But that I and splatter, everything must be splattered. So I
There's definitely a
that's
strong
not
line.
going to go away anytime soon, and I'm well known for my love of anything glittery.
It's
So
it definitely is. There's a strong line with splatter. I've
yes,
noticed that's either team splatter or team. There's no like in between. It's either
no,
team splatter or team no splatter. Because I noticed that people are like, no, 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 no. Like when you say splatter, and
no,
it's definitely. Do you have any tips on splatter? Because that's an acquired skill. Do you have any tips for splatter?
it is an acquired skill, and when I teach in person, I always caution people. I say, now here's the splatter box. Here's the whatever brush I have or whatever acrylic, whatever you're splattering with. You may use this, you may practice it, and then they'll say, would you do it for me? And I say, absolutely not. Because what does happen with splatter, as you well know, is just about the time you think you have it perfect, there's a big splat that goes on there, and then you have to find a way to cover it. So splatter has a life of its own, but it's somehow I'm sure someday, years ago, we used to tear everything, and then
Yeah.
use like a brown ink to make it look
Yep.
distressed. And I didn't think anything looked right unless it had that edge on it. Well, now I feel that way about splatter, but one of these days it will be replaced by something else.
The great news is we do have products that help you achieve the splatter look at Altenew if you don't want to splatter. We have a stamp set, we have a stencil, we have a hot foil
Yes.
plate. So there's ways. So the amazing team at Altenew has come up with ways in case you want to be a safe splatterer. We'll call it that.
Yes.
There's other ways you can go about it. And then I mean
Or if you choose not to splatter at all, that's okay. We
yes,
understand.
or enamel dots. Enamel dots are a great faux splatter, I think, because you've got the
Yes.
different sizes, so you can kind of mimic a little degree, with the
Yes.
enamel dots
A
as
little
well.
more controlled splatter for those people who have that tendency. Yes.
Now, do you have a favorite project to work on right now?
Um, my favorite projects depend on how much time I have and what my mood is. And if I have a whole day, I'm not one layer card person. I like to put on the layers, and I can go shabby chic real easily. So a favorite project for me probably would involve layers of flowers and lots of color.
Now, are you loving, because you were talking about layers of flowers, do you lean more towards stamps, or do you like the more like craft a flower and the more dimensional flowers you can build?
I like them all, and I just don't. Everything I'm working on is my current favorite. I really do. In fact, I like to combine both.
Yeah.
And I've done quite a bit of that recently where I'll do the stamping and then, create a beautiful black background with stamps and then put in the craft a flower with that. And I love creating that. When I said I was working with a lot of stencil backgrounds, most of those end up with a craft a flower on top of them. I love I love this craft a flower. Just watching that come together is
Yeah.
just so fun for me. And it brings. I was talking about texture and talking about depth, and it does all of that. So I do love the craft of flowers.
Now, who are some of your biggest influences? I know one of them. I don't even have to ask about one of them. But who are, besides Yana? I know Yana is your huge love, Yana. Shout out to Yana.
I
Hey, Yana.
Yana's colors just pull me in, and she is my favorite. Very early on, when I was actually managing a scrapbook store, I was fortunate enough to spend some time with Anna Griffin, and her shabby chic style has always been part of my influence. And I think the connection that she makes with people is she has a very personal way of, I mean, she remembers people's names years later, just as a person. And then I love that she has a style and she sticks to it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate her love for old things and old wallpaper. I also had the opportunity to take some classes from Tim Holtz. And those two people, you couldn't ask for more opposite styles than Tim Holtz and Anna Griffin. But I would say early on, those two really were they took me in. And at the time, I was doing a lot of scrapbooking. And then in the AECP program, it was Aram, and I did not watercolor. I didn't want to watercolor. I didn't think I could watercolor. And she just pulled me along. I can watch her videos forever.
Yes.
and I start them and stop them and reverse them and forward them. And she's been a tremendous influence. And then our Saturday group, we say we craft as a village, and we do. And last Saturday, I was working on a card, and I just could not figure out what to do for a sentiment. And it was Aram who said it needs to be on black. And I mean, that's all she needed to say. But frequently, I will send a picture to you or send a picture to one of my other friends and say, this isn't going right for me. And, somebody will have the right answer. And I love that group effort.
I did that with Pam. It wasn't a project for AECP, but I was in AECP and I was working on my watercoloring. And something which I love now. I'm passionate about watercolor. I love my watercolor. But I probably sent it to Pam 15 times, this one project. And every time she'd come back with a suggestion of this or that. And splatter was one of them. It is splattered, just for the record. And this actually is framed and hangs in my small office now because Pam and I worked so hard on this piece because I would be like, it doesn't look right. It's missing something. That's a great piece of advice because I think some crafters, you have a piece that you don't like and you're like, well, I can't show it to anybody. It's horrible. Like I can't, but I think you need to show it to people because they can give you ideas on what's going to make you love it, really love it.
Well, and you had a card in your living room when I was there from a friend who didn't like the card, said, I'm giving it to you. You like it. I don't. And just those are the things that everybody has different taste and a different way of looking at it. And it's so fun to get someone else's input.
And still to this day, she doesn't like the card, but she felt so bad giving it to me. She apologized for giving it to me. She was like, but I know you love it and you'll give it a good home. And I do. It's gorgeous. I wish I knew what she didn't like about it because it's a stunning card. So it's, and that may be it. Sometimes a lot of this we craft for ourselves, right? We craft because we want to give a card to somebody to make them have a brighter day. Or we craft because it's been a rough day and we just need some downtime. Like a lot of it's about us, but I think sometimes the cards aren't meant for us. We make them and somebody's like, that is beautiful. I love that. And you're like, no. That is the worst.
It's just like, I'm glad somebody loves it.
Like, here you go. It is yours. So, maybe something you were originally creating for yourself, for whatever reason as to why we craft. But, in the end, it may be somebody else that card was truly meant for because it just doesn't work for you.
Yes. It's like, well, you hear authors saying that sometimes when they're writing a book, a character sort of writes its own story.
Yeah.
And I think that happens with cards as well. It just it goes in its own direction and you really have no control over it. And somebody will love it.
That's the thing. There's always somebody that's going to love the card. So just create. That's the baseline. Just create.
Well, and that is my main piece of advice too, is for me. And I hope for I'm crafting as my own therapy.
Yeah.
I'm in my room crafting because that's what I want to do and it makes me happy.
Yeah.
And so it's and my favorite word is prototype.
Yes.
And so you're taking a class, and when you're taking a class, frequently you don't create your best work because you're working with a new product. You're trying to watch an instructor and listen and do things at the same time. And so that card may not meet your expectations, but you've learned something, the process, that's your prototype. And then you can go on when you have the time and you're relaxed in your own space. And then you can create what you really want.
And I used to do that with AECP as well. Like I'd give it a first watch, like kind of, maybe I'm doing dishes, maybe I'm folding clothes, kind of watching it, like starting the percolating process. What am I going to do? And then it's like, okay, now I know where I want to go. Let me rewatch. And it may have just been certain parts I rewatched to really get the meat and potatoes before I created my project. But I think that's the great thing is those videos are there. You can slow them down. You can pause them. and you have that ability to just watch it as many times as you want, create prototypes if you want to, and then, create something different. But yeah, it is hard, especially live classes. Recorded classes are better. You can stop them. Um, at
Yes.
least I like them. I love the live classes because they're a hoot. They're so much fun. But you have to prepare more, I think, for a live class than you do a recorded. Because recorded, you can pause it, you can go grab your paper, grab your ink. Live, you got to go. You got to be ready to go. So
Well, I never do the same thing twice. Even I'm teaching a class on Wednesday, and I got out the samples that I made several months ago for that class. And as I'm preparing for the class, I'm thinking, I'm going to change this and I'm going to change that. And each time I do it, I like it better.
and that's the thing. I think the more you look at it, the more you see, oh, maybe I would have liked the sentiment over here, or oh, what if I did it in
Mhm.
this color? And I think that's the problem with a new product, though, right? You open that package and you're like, oh, this would look good in all the colors, and then you want to create it in all the colors, and we just don't have enough time to create it in all the colors for every
Right.
product we get, which is sad.
Yes.
So how long does it take you? Let's see how good this is, because mine is very long. But how long are you when it comes in the mail? How long does it take before you make a project with your Altenew goodies?
I have a bucket on my table of things I want to do. So it depends on where that and if something new comes, it may move way forward in that bucket. It's not very long though, and I particularly the Craft Your Life kits, which are my favorite product. There's just everything you could possibly need to go with that one set. And those I open and pretty much have ink on them within a couple days because I really love them.
It is so versatile. I mean,
It
you have all
is.
the components essentially that we kind of look for when we're looking at a product, right? Because I mean, the embossing folder we're not always necessarily looking for, but it's great to have. We're always looking for that die. We're always looking for that stamp set. We're always looking for that stencil. And so
There's always a surprise in there, though. Even I just worked on a build a garden, and I opened up the stencil set and there was a background stencil in there. I wasn't expecting that. And it's like, oh my gosh, now what can I do with that? So I love that Altenew has some little something that's unexpected for me. And it's like, okay, I got to try it. I'll take on the challenge.
they like to use every last speck of space, which I love because we get so much
Yes,
especially in those subscription kits. I mean, in all the
yes.
products, but those subscription kits are just so loaded with everything. I mean, you could have one of those. I mean, I know you when you go on vacation, you just take a couple Craft Your Life kits and you're good for a while.
Yes, I am. They're perfect to travel with because all you need is uh, watercolor and maybe an ink pad and a Craft Your Life kit. You could keep yourself entertained for a good week.
And not make the same project. Not even close.
No,
Not even close.
no.
I mean, it's wild. Now, so what other crafts? Do you have time for other crafts? And if you do, what other crafts are you working on?
I've crafted all my life. I've gone through the same list that most everybody else does. Actually, did a lot of sewing for a long time. I sewed models for stores, so I learned that from my mother. I can only do so many crafts. There's only so much room. So when we moved here, I left quilting behind and pretty much focused on paper crafts, but I still love to do stitching and cross stitch, and it's another thing you can do while you're watching television. And I've taught my granddaughter. I still love to stitch. I've dabbled in all of it at one time or another. I've refinished furniture, I've made jewelry, I've done it all. But at this point, it's the paper crafting.
Now, where do you find your inspiration for your paper crafting?
I spend a lot of time on the internet, and I really think that's the way to keep current with what's going on. It's the way to get inspired. Sometimes I rarely hit a point where I'm not inspired. I don't have those blocks very often. But if I do, sometimes it's going back and looking at favorite cards that I've made and thinking, how could I do that differently? Usually it's the product and my bucket that's sitting there of things I'm looking forward to doing. But I follow, I don't know, 6 or 8 paper crafters pretty regularly. And I love to, maybe a color that they've used has inspired me, or I see, some new background that they've done, or just some little thing will set me off on another journey.
Now, is there something when you're teaching a class? Is there something like a message or something you want your students to remember from that class? Like just something in general from you about crafting?
I want people to leave happy with what they've done. And so you're doing this for yourself. It's back to, don't compare yourself to somebody else. Compare yourself to, what did you learn today? So over and over, you're doing this for you. This is your therapy. You're here to enjoy yourself. And so I think more than anything, that's what I try. And just, what new thing did you learn today? What are you taking home with you that you didn't know before and that you'll try again? And I think that's encouraging people. Don't just, a lot of times people will come to, especially in-person classes, they're there to make one card that they saw that you made and they love. But what I hope they'll do is go home and try it again and do something for themselves.
And that, I mean, a lot of times too, when practicing the technique, you go in different directions. So you may go down a path you've never been before, which is really great because you're trying out new crafting experiences. So do you find?
Well, and I think too, something we frequently, it's only paper.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to try something. Don't, if you're not happy with it, it's a piece of paper. But you may also think, oh my gosh, I've learned something new. I want to do this again. So just don't be afraid to experiment a little bit.
And that's the thing. I mean, you can't, yes and no to this statement, but you can't really do it wrong. You can't craft wrong,
That's right. Yeah.
because you're doing it. This is yours. You are the only person that can do this. So, is it the correct watercolor technique from university? Mine isn't. Does it come out how I like it? Absolutely. So am I going to go with it? Absolutely. And I think that's the thing, is that we have to abandon, I think that gets stuck in your head sometimes, right? That you're not following the rules that you've heard of, or
I think my favorite medium is alcohol markers. And I tell a story of going to a class where they worked on one image for an entire morning, and I was absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
And that everyone is happy at different levels, and to try to find that point where I'm happy with this, I'm proud to send it to someone, but I didn't spend a whole morning trying to get the highlight right on that pair of boots. It just is whatever makes you happy.
Yeah. And I think that's the key to this, right? I mean, we're a pretty happy bunch, us crafters,
Yes.
we love to share. We love to inspire other folks, whether it's through shopping or through, showing projects. We both are good. But I think overall
Yes.
crafters are a pretty happy bunch.
They are. Managing a scrapbook store, I almost never saw a grumpy person. The only time, and the thing I loved about it too is, especially with the scrapbooks, they were sharing family stories and family, and a lot of times that's true of cards too. I'm making this for my sister because.
Yeah.
But the only time I saw grumpy people was right around the holidays, where someone wasn't really a crafter and they had decided that in 1 week they were going to do a scrapbook of their daughter's entire life. And they were a little grumpy about it. So, other than that, people are pretty happy.
That's why I abandoned that idea. I told my son, we'll start with the grandkids. Like I was so many years in and I'm just like, you know what? This is not going to happen. So
Uh-huh.
sometimes you have to
Being
just accept it.
realistic.
Yes.
Be realistic,
Let's
yes.
start with the grandkids. You lived your life. You remember. You're good. Like, but also he was not from the age of the cell phone. So he was of the age where I had to actually take pictures, take them to get them developed, pick them up, bring them back. Half of them were out of focus or your thumb was over like half of
Yes.
the image. So you got maybe 3 good photos out of a roll of 24.
Yes. But some people have a hard time of parting with those.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's scrapbooking is a whole. I do miss it,
Yeah.
and I still have visions of going back and doing some of it. But card making, you get such gratification so much quicker,
Yeah.
and you don't have these huge long goals and projects that just seem insurmountable. With a card, it's pretty achievable in a short period of time.
And also you can give it away, right? I mean, the scrapbook album, they used to be like 5 inches thick, and you go to your kids and you're like, you'll inherit this one day, and they're like, thanks. Like, after you've spent countless hours, burned yourself with a glue gun, dropped black ink on your white shirt, like all these mishaps, all these stories
Yes.
you can
Yeah.
tell about the scrapbook, but they're like, okay, like,
Yeah. Yes, yes. My daughter-in-law, I'm sure, has seen in the guest room the pile of scrapbooks that are my son's every moment of his life. Well, he until he was out of high school, I guess. So I'm sure she's dreading that day.
I'm so in awe though, as the mom that was just like, yeah, it didn't happen. I'm so in awe of all the folks that it did happen for, that they made it, they got all those memories. I have,
Well, and
yeah,
I look at it as it was something I wanted to do. It gave me great pleasure while I was doing it.
yeah,
I enjoyed it. I remembered those moments. And if that's as far as it gets, that's
that's
fine
good.
with me.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So we do have our game, which our game is coming up.
Oh, I
So
read this. Okay.
don't dread.
Okay.
So the final question we have is, how exciting is it to be Altenew Educator of the Year for 2023?
Oh, gosh. Um, as a mom or during my teaching career or what, you don't get awards very frequently. And the your achievements or what you feel good about are rarely recognized. So this was very special for to be recognized, and then for that to come from Altenew, which just means so much to me. The It just represents quality for me, and it just represents so many good things. But I think too, it's so wonderful at this stage of my life to think that I've enjoyed this. To get an award for something that I love doing, how much better does it get than that? And it represents for me everything that I've loved doing for the past how many years now with Altenew. I have the award sitting on my desk, and it never fails to make me smile and make me feel good. And I think about, I mean, the award comes because of the classes I've taught. And I think of all of the people I still, I have the lists of all of the people of all of these virtual classes I've taught, probably 3 classes a month for 3 or 4 years now, and you start adding that up and think of all of the people that I've been able to meet and hopefully teach something. That means a lot to me too.
And don't forget the 12-hour and 24-hour, because you were in those too. So
Yes,
even more students that have gotten to do
yeah.
classes.
And we've just had so much fun
Yeah.
and learned along the way and made friends, and it represents all of that in one little award, and that's a lot.
Who knew they could fit so much in one small
One,
space?
one little globe. Yep, just like that.
Well, again, congratulations, and we're so proud to have you as
Thank
Altenew
you.
Educator of the Year. Very, very exciting. Okay, now comes the time, the 3 words. And I will tell you, the past few months, they've been very nice, the crafty gnomes.
Well, I hope they're easy on me.
Hopefully, they'll be nice because, maybe they're just waiting. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, your first word, this one's funny. You can tell your story about this, and you have to connect it to crafting. We do
Okay.
have what I call the 6 degrees of crafty Kevin Bacon. I don't know if he crafts or not, but we made him crafty, so you can do 6 degrees and connect it if you have to. Your
Okay.
first word is crown.
Oh gosh. Well, then that's an easy story. We Bridget and Karen, another AECP. Actually, she's in the program right now. We met in Columbus, Ohio, a few weeks ago for Simon Stamp's Create event. And one of the joys of this event is that all of the crafty stars are there. So we get to talk to Jennifer McGuire, and we get to talk to, in this case, it was Tim Holtz. And so Karen turned out to be a real paparazzi during this event, and she had her camera and got pretty bold about asking people to be part of a photograph. So, and Karen had given me a crown as my gift for becoming AECP Altenew Educator of the Year. So I had my crown, and we had Tim Holtz, and we had Karen the paparazzi, and we got the greatest picture of Tim pointing to me and my crown, and we've had a good time with the crown. It now sits with my AECP certificate on my shelf here in my studio, but I don't think I've ever actually worn a crown prior to that. And I will get it out on other occasions, but the picture with Tim is priceless.
That really is. That really is. Yes, Karen
It
also
is.
kidnapped Vicky that day so I could get a photo with it. Karen was great at getting
Yes.
photos. She was, yeah. Shout out to Karen
She
for
was, she was
getting
great.
all the photos. Okay, your next word is cut.
Cut?
Cut, yeah.
Okay, let's see. Well, I guess I can talk to you about my trimmer. I have in this studio, I have a desk with two sides to it. So one side of it is where I have my camera and I do my virtual classes, and believe it or not, it looks very nice, and the nice background, the desktop is clean, and at the other end is where I do the real work. So I decided that I really was sitting for too long at a time. So my trimmer is at the opposite end of the room from where I sit. So if I need to cut anything, there's the word. If I need to cut anything, I have to get up out of my chair and walk across my room. So that may be my only exercise of the day, but I do get up and get some exercise when I have to trim something.
Your Apple Watch should say, "Is it time to craft yet?" So that you're
Yes, that's how I get my steps in.
Okay, and your last word is actually, I think you can tie this in pretty good. So I think the crafty gnomes are still sleeping. Your last word is foiled. Foiled.
Oh gosh, I was not right at the beginning. I didn't jump into the foiling experience. I delayed for quite a while and kept thinking, I don't really need one more thing, but I love it. And once I got it, I really do. My foiling machine is very close to my desk, and I do get mine out and I do use it. And I have a thing for glimmer and glitter, and frequently, especially for the backgrounds, I love having that foil. And I see we just came out with about 6 more colors. So the one color is called, is it vanilla black? It's got a white, the color of it doesn't make sense to
I
me,
have an
but I've got
ivory black.
ivory
Yes.
black. Yes, so I need to order it in order to see what ivory black is. But the foil, I hope it stays with us. And I think with the press plates now, the press plates even seem to give a better result than the foil plates.
They're beautiful.
They are gorgeous. And so I think, and then you've got the impression on top of that. So I think it's here to stay, and I hope it is.
I hope so. I think so, because we've had trends come in and everybody loves it and buys all this stuff, and then it kind of slowly goes down, But foiling, I think, is kind of gearing up, especially like you said. Thankful the Better Press system was created by our dear friends at Spellbinders, because we at Altenew have some beautiful press plates that we have out there, and they work beautiful. And I foil with all of my press plates from Altenew, and they're gorgeous. I mean, if you think they're pretty in ink, I mean, they're so beautiful foiled.
It is, and it just, you get a little tired of the stamped black outline, and just putting a foiled outline makes a huge difference and gives I think it gives a more professional look. It's very classy, and it just, the people look at it and say, "How did you do that?" So I like that. I don't want them to know.
Especially clean and simple cards. It's just that touch of class
Yes.
and elegance that really hits a clean and simple card, like right on the noggin. It just kind of puts it right into perspective, which is great. So yeah, foiling is fabulous. So how do you think? Were the gnomes nice today?
They were very good to me, and I appreciate it.
And did you like that I had the foil you mentioned right next to me?
Yes, that was very convenient. We didn't plan that.
I have them right next to me because I haven't tried them all yet. And I'm like, oh, I must try them all. They're all so pretty.
Well, they are not in my possession yet. So
definitely,
I will get.
You'll like them. They're very
I will.
pretty. Yes, very gorgeous. And one thing, a little tidbit about Pam. Pam is always color coordinated as well. Her nails always match her project. And usually her outfit. So just a little tidbit about Pam that I don't know if Pam would have shared, but I will share, having known her over these years, that we're always amazed on Saturday. We're like, oh my gosh, your project matches your nails and your outfit. It's a special skill. I think you can list it under special skills. Always color coordinated.
That's one of my things.
And
That's
always glimmery, always shiny. There's always
my nails don't match my outfit today. My granddaughter is graduating from middle school today, and this is the color her fingernails are. So I told her I would have, since I can't be at her graduation, we have matching fingernails today.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's great. You should both take pictures of your nails and put them together so you can see.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was such a pleasure. And again, congratulations. I'm sure you can't hear it enough on being Altenew's Educator of the Year. We're so excited you came and talked about the program. It's, as you know, very, very close to my heart. And I love that program very much. I'm so proud to be an educator. And so anytime I can speak with one of the educators, especially Educator of the Year, I'm always very excited to talk about the program and the educator as well.
There is no one I would rather talk to.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for listening and watching along with us, because our podcast, if you didn't know, if you're just listening, our podcast is also in video and released on YouTube. So if you'd like to watch along and see Pam's beautiful space with all the fun goodies in the background, come check us out over on YouTube. But also, if you're just walking at night and need something to listen to, you can also just listen to us on podcast as well. But thank you so much for listening and watching, to our amazing listeners. And tune in next month, because you never know which amazing guest we're going to bring on next. So thank you all for allowing us to help you craft your life. And we'll see you all next month in another episode of Craft Your Life. Goodbye, everyone. Follow us on Spotify,
Apple Podcast, and everywhere you can find podcasts to keep up with every new episode. Email us at support@altenew.com with your feedback. And don't forget to craft your life.
Hello crafters, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching!